Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Hamilton Report. I'm Scott J. Hamilton. Happy New Year. I am thrilled to be back with you this year. We have an exciting year ahead for us. A lot of work, but a lot of opportunities. And I'm glad that you chose to spend a bit of time with me this evening and for allowing me into your home. I just want to say a very personal word of thank you to everyone who watched the last episode of this broadcast last year. Our program that was presented on the week of Christmas has been viewed more times than any other episode of the Hamilton Report. And so I'm grateful for all the feedback that we got. I'm grateful for the kind words. And so many people shared that broadcast. And that's what it takes. We all have to share each other's work because that's how we get our message out. And that's how we continue to build our party. And as importantly as building our party is making Oklahoma a better place to live and work for all of us. My guest this evening is a unique fella. I really enjoy watching his broadcast, and he had me as a guest on his, and so it's a pleasure to begin this calendar year with a very special guest. Before I introduce him, I just want to show you a brief clip, and this was for a program that he did earlier this year, and I'll show you, and then I'll introduce him to you.
I think of it as Custer's last stand, but this time around, Stitt's taken on all 35 tribes, not a measly 2 like Armstrong Custer did. I wonder how it's going to work out for him.
As you saw just in that tiny clip, someone with a good sense of humor, but also very politically astute. It's my pleasure to welcome this evening Kit Fairchild to the Hamilton Report. Kit, welcome.
Thank you very much, Scott. Thanks for that great introduction, by the way. Yeah, and that little skit I brought you that I showed, that's one of my favorite little trailers that I did. And I did that, yeah, it was about a year and a half ago when Stitt was going after the 35 tribes and really just got his butt handed to him because, yeah, how did that turn out for him after all? How did that turn out? Yeah, $2 million fiasco, and we lost a third of the state. So there you go, Stitt's last stand, and that's one of my favorite shows, by the way, because it just really puts him on blast and what he did. But thank you so much. Thanks for that, Scott.
Well, one of the reasons that I'm so happy that you're here this early in the year is because you have done a yeoman's job of cataloging and keeping track of the foolishness that this governor has perpetrated on the people of Oklahoma. And I'd like for you to talk a little bit about some of the things that have been most surprising to you, or the things that have been most frustrating to you that you've seen. But before we get into that too deeply, I want to stick with the tribes for a minute.
Yeah.
Can maybe you have a better understanding of this than I do? But how can someone who carries a tribal membership card in their back pocket be so full of animosity toward our tribes?
Easy. I think power and money. Stitt has power from the state level, not from the tribes. And he has money. So he uses that to buy influence too. So it's not like he's using his office to be corrupt in a way of getting more money. No, he's actually has the money. He knows how to manipulate the money that the states already appropriates for different things, and he knows how to use that as leverage by extorting other players in the political realm to get what he wants. And that's basically what he does with the tribes. And the only thing was, I think, the thing he went after the tribes, and he really got his butt handed to him on it. One good thing it did was it did make the tribes become a bigger player to our state. So now you see him donate a lot more money, see him being around a lot more. But really, that's at a detriment to Stitt's own power and his control, because that's really what Stitt is after. If you see it like what he did with the AG's office, pressuring out Hunter and putting in his own patsy so that he can get his own personal lawyer in there. And you see it with what he does with the Department of Education and how he puts his own people on that board and everything else, and how they're so pro private school and everything else and what he's doing. And I think it goes into just a broader thing about Kevin Stitt. Why he's not so big into the tribes, even though he's a card member, is because that's not where his power, his control, or his money comes from. So it's not really that important to him, I think.
One of our viewers just said that anyone can be a Cherokee, be enrolled with the Cherokee without evidence. It's a wide open role.
Yeah.
But th- this is the state named for Native Americans. The very
Yeah.
name of our state means the land of the red people. And so it's just unfathomable to me that he continues to kick the tribes the way he does. And fortunately, the
Yeah.
courts keep sending him back home with his tail between his legs.
And isn't it ironic here, Scott? Isn't it ironic? Me, I'm as white as anybody. I'm a fifth generation Oklahoman, but no one in my family is a Native American. How about, do you have any Native American blood in you, Scott?
I do.
You do.
It's
Are
way
you a
back.
card member? Do you are you
No,
a
I'm
card?
not.
No, you're not. So and that's kind of the irony here, in a way. You're a Native American, but you're not on rolls. Me, I'm definitely not. And we actually care more and are putting out there more stuff about the Native Americans than Kevin Stitt, who's supposed to even be a member of that and his own people, right? So that's kind of the irony of it, I think. And you're right. Yeah, I'm a satirist. If you see some of my show and some of what I do, what I do is satire. And a lot of why to do it brings in a little bit of element of comedy to it, of course, because sometimes it's so depressing what they do in this state that you just need to laugh at it a little and go, man. And sometimes just the clowny antics that some of these people do, like Sean Roberts and the Olson, Mr. Olson, who puts out his crazy bills, which is another thing that I do. As you know, my show's getting ready to start, so I've been doing a lot of research on a lot of the new kooky bills that they've been putting in lately. But
Oh
yeah,
my
getting back to
gosh!
Kevin Stitt.
This is part and parcel, Kit, of his leadership, or what he thinks of as being a leader. You
Yeah.
have all of these knucklehead Republicans coming up with these horrifying bills,
Oh yeah.
and
You
for
don't
him
even know the half of what I've read today, Scott. You haven't
oh,
even seen it. Wait till I get it. And I know, man, the Standridge thing, that's gone national. I was like, oh, I got to do a show on the Standridge thing, but everybody's already got it. So I probably won't do a show on it because, man, that thing's gone national. His anti-sue the librarian thing. And it's just nuts. That's just so kooky clown car. You
well,
almost got to do a show on it. That's why it's gone
yeah,
national, I think.
I have. We're going to be looking at that in the next couple of weeks because this is a big deal. And first
He's
of all,
not the
we
only
have a
one. Olson has another one too on the same lines. That Olson guy I was telling you about, the crazy guy from Eastern Oklahoma, Jim Olson. Man, you got to look up this guy. He is as big government social conservative as you can get, and that's Jim Olson. And he's got a couple of crazy ones too. He's the guy that a couple of years ago tried to put in the marijuana law thing, where if you had a church within 1,500 feet of any kind of marijuana facility, even if the land was borrowed, you couldn't have one there. And of course, it didn't fly. But there's another one just as kooky as this. Another guy has one out to where if you want to have any kind of marijuana facility in a county, well, the county has to vote for it. The people in the county have to approve it by petition. So, and this is a lengthy process. You have to do it 6 months before the petition, and then wait another 6 months to a year and a half before it hits the voters, and then the voters have to approve it by ballot that your marijuana business will go in that county. And this is another bill that's going in. That's probably going to be one of my first shows. I really want to highlight that because, they're trying to throw monkey wrenches in that marijuana law. This is insane because when you look at the polling, even it's in the low to mid 70% of Oklahoma. And when you think 70% or more people in Oklahoma are for it, those are obviously Republicans as well. These are these guys' voters who are for
absolutely.
this, and he's trying to screw it up. So, and sometimes you just look at it like, man, do these guys even read their own polling or even talk to their own constituents to see what's going on? Or are they just talking to the little bitty 5-member church group that they stick with on a daily basis? And my theory is probably the latter.
Well, and I think you make a great point because over the holidays, the last 2 weeks, the governor has spent all of his time and his staff's time choosing their favorite photos of him for the year.
Oh, I've seen that.
And
Yeah.
it was laughable. He insisted his
Yeah.
favorite one was having a barbecue in front of the PETA
Yeah.
billboard that called him a
No.
meathead.
Yeah. I'm
Um,
going to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you. And hey, I look, I'm a Democrat and I consider myself a liberal, but I'm probably a moderate. I've been accused of being a moderate. And I'm going to say one of the bad things Democrats do is messaging. And when he came out with that, I was thinking, oh yeah, PETA did this deal, and then he came out with his meathead deal, right? And he capitalized on it, and he actually capitalized on it. You know, that wasn't, it was a joke, and Democrats make fun of it, but when you look at actually the results of what happened with that, Stitt came out ahead. That's really the only few areas that I've seen he's actually won at anything was on that issue, because Democrats did a poor job of messaging that. And really, it wasn't Democrats, really, it was PETA. They did the poor job of messaging, and really Democrats were left without anything anyway, because PETA didn't let them know anything, so it's not like Democrats could do anything about it. Right. So it was really a brilliant move, almost by Stitt politically, without knowing it, almost, because I'm sure he didn't have the brains to, put this all together by himself. But to do that, it was. I think it was poor messaging by PETA, because here you are, we're in an ag state. We're, popular with that. You got a governor who's popular with the agriculture industry and the beef industry, period. And you got PETA doing this, and I get the message, but then they just really fell down on the ball on fighting this back, and they really couldn't. And then Stitt just ran with it. So I saw that, and I was like, oh, well, poor messaging, I get it. But you're right. But I think but yeah, how about that? But let's talk about the picture of him where they said it was like the third popular one was him pretending to be Border Patrol. How about that one?
Yeah, that's the one that he spent. What was it, $12,000 of state money to go on a holiday to stand at the border because he called it a crisis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, called it a crisis
for Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, the sky is falling, people. Watch me pee myself on my memes I'm going to put out, and they think this is good. This is good political strategy to come out, play victim, act like a coward, and cry to people, say, "Vote for me. I'll protect you. I'll protect you." Yeah, right. No one's going to buy that. That's a cowardly act, and no one's going to buy it. And that's all he did. And he wasted. Yeah, that's not all he wasted. I'm sure it was $12,500 just for the plane flight to get there. And that doesn't include the security, the meals, the rental car to get him to where he was going, and everything else involved. So, and that was.
We've lost your audio.
Audio? Am I on? Am I on?
No.
Am I on? Okay. Hello from Michigan. Hello from Oklahoma.
That happens sometimes when we're doing a live broadcast and still can't hear you.
I don't know. Still can't hear me, right? Let me check. I'll check the mic. It should be. It should be working. It's working.
On my end.
My end's showing that I got the bubbles. Got the bubbles, and it's working. It says it's working. I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. And I'm going to type.
Okay.
So I can hear you.
Let's try this a different way. Evidently, the problem is on my end.
Mic shows it is on.
And I'm fixing this as quickly as I
can.
Know. Now, can you
hear
me?
I can hear you.
And I can hear you. So we're in good
You can hear me now?
Yeah.
Good. Excellent. Not sure what happened there. I didn't do anything. I was saying, well, my mic looks like it's on. I still had the bubbles going across.
And that's what mine had as well. So it was my end. Thank you to our viewers for letting us know that they can still hear you.
Sorry, that's okay. You got to, hair's going all crazy. Anyway, you got to slow me down a minute. That's the other thing. If you notice on my show, I'm kind of hyperactive, little ADHD, which actually works well for the show because as you notice as I talk, man, it really starts going. And so I keep the flow moving. So sometimes you got to slow me down. Somebody's going, hey, pull his mic a little. Anyway, let's get back into it, Scott. Where were we?
Before we do that, we've mentioned your show a couple times. You've been on hiatus. You come back and you do 2 seasons a year.
2 seasons a year.
And your new season for 2022 begins January 16th. Is that correct?
January 16th on Sunday morning, correct. You'll be able to stream the season 5, episode 1 on Sunday morning around 8:30 or so, and you'll be able to stream it from then on. And we put out a show once a week. It's about 15 minutes long. YouTube channel, Across the Desk with Kit Fairchild. This will be our 5th season. Odd number seasons always start in the middle of January. And you're right, we do 2 seasons a year. It works out perfectly because we do roughly 20 episodes a season, and then we take about 6 weeks off in the middle and come back for another 20. episodes and take another 6 weeks off, and before you know, that's 52 weeks. So that works out pretty good schedule, and it works out awesomely. Actually, for me, it works out awesomely because we start in the middle of January, right when all the crazy bills start hitting on the state capitol, so I can get all these nice material on that. And then it ends right before Memorial Weekend, right before the holidays and the summertime fun. And then we come back right after the 4th of July holiday, and we go on until right before Thanksgiving. So then we're off for the holidays there, right? And those are usually the areas when nothing's really going on much politically anyway. So it works out really good for the scheduling to do it like that. But thank you very much for
you've been off for the last month or so, and let's take a look particularly at the governor's actions or inactions in that time.
Yeah.
One of the things, of course, was he declared that non-binary people do not exist.
Oh, yeah. Which,
and-
by the way, was one of my most popular shows. I would say that's not the one that was the most popular, but that was probably third or fourth most popular one. Like I was saying, when I do a show on Governor Stitt, they really hit. And they really get the retention. And that one on the non-binary, you can't say non-binary on your birth certificate, was a really big hit. The other thing that's really crazy about that is Kevin Stitt is such a hypocrite. And it goes further than being a hypocrite. Because Kevin Stitt is here saying, hey, you can't have binary on your birth certificate. Big government's going to come down and tell you what you can have on it. But also put out a meme the next day saying, big government can't tell you to get a shot in the arm. That's just overreach. But big government can tell you what's going to be on your birth certificate, even if you don't live in the state anymore, as from what I heard the whole hoopla was about anyway, with somebody in Oregon.
Yeah, it wasn't even anyone that lives here.
Yeah, well, they didn't live here. They were just born in Oklahoma, and they didn't live here anymore. So here he is trying to force his big government ideology on people that don't even live in Oklahoma anymore. And then wanting to claim that that's what Democrats do with, mandates and everything else. And it's just lunacy, really.
He sued the federal government for federal overreach, particularly with the National Guard. And yet everything his administration has done, every bill that he has signed, has created a bigger state government and taken more control away from local people. No school can have a mask mandate on their own.
Exactly.
These are not the ways
that
Oklahomans need to live and to grow.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, it's
like the deal he put in. Hey, the Oklahoma got sued. Oklahoma, I guess, what was the education department? Somebody got sued. A lawsuit happened. I can't remember what it was about off the top of my head. But then he came back after everything was. This was the. I think it was the binary. I don't know if that was a binary thing or not. No, it was something different. There was a school, and he put in there. Oh no! Next time the school or a lawsuit happens, you got to come to the governor's office about it. Not that you got to go to a law group or you talk to anybody with any kind of law experience. No, you got to go to the guy who's got a degree in finance. That's where you got to go for all your legal advice and everything else in the state. You got to go to Kevin Stitt is where you got to go to. Not even the Attorney General. Don't even got to go there. Of course, the Attorney General's a boob, and he's only Stitt's mouthpiece anyway. That's why he's there.
I was going to say, going to the governor's office and going to the Attorney General is one and the same, because he just rubber stamps whatever Stitt wants him to do.
Which brings me up to a point I want to make, Scott, getting off of governor and stuff. Now, man, the Attorney General, okay, that is a voted on office that's coming up in 2020, and I did a show on O'Connor because the thing that amazed me, I saw this interview he did where they asked him, hey, how much money do you think you're going to need to run for Attorney General in 2022? And his and he was like deer in headlights, like governor appointed me. No, yeah, but you got to run again in 2022. How much money do you think you're going to need? He's like, I don't know. And that's what it was. It's like, so I quickly looked it up. Yeah, no campaign, no fundraising arm, no nothing. So basically really, Kevin Stitt is his campaign arm. He's the one who's doing the campaign for him. He's not going to do anything. So basically, this guy has no campaign. A Democrat could step right into that. A Democrat needs to be recruited to run for AG. That's like a bird nest on the ground. If there's any kind of statewide office that can be won, it's going to be Attorney General, because let's face it, John O'Connor is a total moron who doesn't know one thing about politicking or running a campaign, and he's really a horrible attorney general. He hasn't really won anything yet, and he hasn't even gone against the governor yet. That was the other thing they asked. Hey, man, is there anywhere where you would disagree with the governor? And he was like, well, I haven't yet, but I'm sure there will be a place. Let me tell you, that was 9-10 months ago, and he hasn't disagreed with him yet, and I don't expect him ever to.
No, I don't expect that he will either. It's man, and that's just another prime example of the way Stitt does business in our state. He runs this like it's his own playground, hiring his friends, putting people in places that they have no business being, no experience, no education, no qualification.
Like I was talking about the school board thing. You know, who was that? The guy he put in there was a tight end for OU. That's his whole experience. Yeah. He was a tight end for OU, and now he sits on the board of our education board. I can't remember what it, Department of Education board, one of the members on there. I can't remember his name, but I actually did a show on this about a year or two ago. Well, probably about a year ago. And yeah, the guy has no experience, and he sits on the board, and he's put in there by Kevin Stitt. So it's all about what can they do for Stitt is basically what this is. How can you scratch Stitt's back? It's all about cronyism. It's all about, hey, how much did you pay this PAC? How much did you pay the GOP to get this seat I'm going to award you? Did you give money to this dark money campaign? Did you give money to the Oklahoma GOP or OCPA or whoever else to get this seat? What did you do? You know, or how are you going to be my, whipping boy for giving you this spot? And there's nothing independent about any of these things he's doing. Nothing. Nobody has an independent thought about it. They all have to go to Stitt. When he puts out a memo that says, hey, when we get sued, you have to come to me first, that tells me right there is no independent organization at all. They all have to go to Governor Stitt to get anything done or to have anything happen. And this isn't the way to run a republic, much less a democracy. But that's Kevin Stitt. He looks at what Trump did, and he looks at what DeSantis does, and he looks at what they're doing in Texas, and goes, I need to do that, and I need to grab as much power and as much consolidation of this power as I can for myself, and my cronies that are on my side, so that we can control it. And that's what it's about. It's not about the people of the state. It's not about what they feel or what they think. It's about Kevin Stitt and what Kevin Stitt feels and what Kevin Stitt thinks and what he and his God are going to tell you what you're going to do, what you're going to feel, what you're going to be, and who you're going to date and everything else. And that's where Kevin Stitt is in life. He wants to control everything.
Well, sadly, the things that he has controlled have not worked out well for the state. The money that he wasted on COVID, the
hydrochloronic and the mask. I like to call them $2 million fiascos. The guy's the king of the $2 million fiasco, and that ought to be a bumper sticker because that's what he is. I mean, the hydrochloronic, right? I don't even know how to pronounce it right. I'm probably not, but the malaria drug. He paid $2 million for that. Okay, mask. Right, he paid a bar owner in Tulsa $2 million for masks that never materialized. What's the other $2 million? $2 million for lawyers to go after the tribes, where he had his butt handed to him in Stitt's last stand. That's another $2 million fiasco. And I imagine we're going to have another one with this mandate thing, where he's going to this whatever with the attorney general suing everybody about having mask mandates and vaccine mandates, and they're just going nuts about this. What has he won, right? So he's got all these $2 million fiascos and doesn't have anything to show for it. Nothing, not even for his own people, not even for his own cronies that he's trying to do this for himself. He doesn't have anything to show for it. Sometimes the only thing he really has to show for it are memes on his Facebook account showing how wonderful governor he is for losing $2 million all the time.
Yeah, it's really it's fascinating how he sees those as somehow successes. But when you consider that he's spending wasting all this money, and yet our budget this year, despite really good revenues from last year, our budget will remain flat this year.
Flat.
And so
it's going to remain flat.
So education will still suffer. Homelessness will still grow.
Oh, but did you hear OCPA?
Will be magnified. It's if we could take let me calm
Hey,
down. If we could take
I'm sorry.
some of this money and put it where people in our state can actually benefit, stopping the unemployment early for people because that incentivizes them not to work. Well, nothing proved that to be
That's
true, and instead,
that's not true.
so
Yeah.
many families
You
were
know,
hurt.
I can think of so many other better reasons. Actually, as a moderate Democrat, I can think of so many other better reasons to stop the unemployment insurance program. One, we have the lowest employment numbers in 30 or 50 years. So really, we probably don't need it. But that's a better argument as to why we don't than saying what was it? Did you just said what was the? I'm so crazy I can't even remember.
Yeah, that will just incentivize people to stay home
Oh,
and
it'll
not go back
send
to work.
people. Right, right. That's why our unemployment numbers are so low because people are so unincentivized to work. That just doesn't add up. That's why I'm saying that's a horrible argument. I like to say Democrats are bad at messaging, and they are, but this is really I don't know what that is. That's really bad messaging on the Republican side because I can think of so many better arguments for doing away with it than oh well people won't work if we give it to them. Yeah, that's not even true. It's not even really enough to sustain yourself on. That's not what it's for, and it's really not designed to do that. And people, I hear that argument from conservatives a lot, and I really don't understand it. I kind of want to. I kind of like say when it comes to these things, sometimes like, okay, I'm gonna go in and try to really understand my opposition. I want to understand where they're coming from on things. Like saying, well, we don't need this unemployment insurance because people are lazy. I mean, what are you getting at? I mean, I don't understand that's so vindictive. That's just a hateful attitude towards your own fellow American who may be suffering. Maybe they lost their job because the business went under. Or maybe the owner was a drunk and just you threw it all away, or maybe they really did do a bad job and got fired. But regardless of which, the unemployment insurance is there for them, right? And then and I understand the extension and why we did the extension, and I think that was helpful at the time. I mean, we don't need to do it through perpetuity. We don't need to do that. I disagree with that, it kind of like the living. I believe in a living wage. Hey man, we should look at where we're at. Like in Oklahoma, $12 an hour. 12.30 is roughly the poverty line. That really should be our minimum at the least. If not 15, it should be 12. Going with lines like that. But this saying that unemployment insurance just makes people not want to work, there's nothing that's ever been proven that that's true at
No,
all.
of course not.
That's just a
It's that
stereotype.
same old welfare Cadillac kind of mentality.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
didn't
That's what it
exist,
is.
but it became a way of life for people to think that it did. Well, listen, my friend,
Exactly.
we are about out of time. Before I let you go, want to invite everyone to tune in to your program
Oh yeah.
starting January 16th, Sunday morning. And the good thing about your show,
Well,
as with this broadcast, is people don't have to watch it at the moment that it airs. You can always go back and watch it on Facebook and YouTube. But I promise
mhm.
you, it won't be long until we have plenty more from this governor that you and I need to talk about
Oh yeah.
together. So I'm going
Well,
to just issue a standing invitation for you to come back and join us anytime.
oh, thanks. Because, like I said, talking to you earlier backstage, I wrote a book in the off season. I did. It's 30,000 words, what they call a novella. But I hope to maybe put that out later this year. So I'm
We'll
kind of
talk
excited
about
about that.
we'll
I've
talk
done
about
7
that.
times of editing on it, looking for an editor. We'll see if I put out a book come July or August.
All right, we'll talk about that next time. Kit, thank you so
Thanks.
much for being with us tonight.
Oh, thank you, Scott.
See you real
Thanks for
soon.
having me on your show and everything. Thank you very much. I love your show. I watch it every chance I get, and you can stream your show too. So that's exactly what I do. Don't have to watch it live. And you also have a YouTube channel. The Oklahoma Democratic Party has their own YouTube channel, and it has great videos on there from you as well as updates from the chair, Alicia Andrews,
There
and
we
you
go.
can see those there too as well. So
Well, thank
great
you for that, my
programs.
friend. Have a good evening, and we'll talk real soon. It was great having a visit tonight with Kit Fairchild. He is, as you can tell, he's very dedicated to making life better in Oklahoma, and at the same time being able to poke holes and to poke fun. And I like that. That keeps us all sane. Well, we are completely out of time, but very quickly, let me offer 2 words. One is Your party needs your financial support this year in any amount that you can afford. I encourage you to please go to okdemocrats.org/donate. We really need your help to make Oklahoma bluer in 2022. And next week, I invite you back for another show. We'll be looking at things that are being proposed in this legislative session that we touched on tonight, and others that will absolutely astound you. But until then, I wish you a very wonderful evening. I ask that you please, if you have not been fully vaccinated, do so for yourself, for your family, and for your fellow Oklahomans. So take good care of yourself, and I look forward to seeing you next Monday evening at 6:30. Good night.